always been a little bit reckless. As you heard, from upstate New York. I have 6 brothers and sisters. I'm the youngest. I've got 2 older sisters and 4 older brothers. And I had that like sweet 90s childhood. No cell phones, would ride around on my bike with no shoes on. And the siblings closest in age to me were my brothers, Eric and Brad. And we used to have like crabapple fights where we would like throw rotten fruit at each other, hide behind dead logs and stuff like that, build structurally questionable bridges over creeks. Definitely didn't always wear the correct PPE when we were playing with our paintball guns. And we used to have this game called Lion King. And what it was is that somebody would pretend to be Simba and lay on the ground with all 4s in the air. And then somebody would pretend to be Scar and just run at Simba and get launched backwards. And we would just do that over and over. And that was Lion King. We got a lot of injuries growing up, but I don't remember anybody getting seriously hurt doing that. As I got older, my recklessness started to turn into rebellion a little. I would like pierce my own ears. And the first time I tried smoking was I rolled up a piece of paper and lit the end and took a drag and got straight ash. Now is also a good time to mention that I was homeschooled my whole life. My homeschoolers in the audience get it. But that means that the trouble I could get myself into was pretty limited. Growing up with my brothers and sisters was awesome. They're still 6 of my favorite people to this day. But I depended on them for a lot. And so as they were off chasing their dreams and their adventures, I got pretty lonely. And 3 of my 4 brothers joined the military, which means that they were taken very far away. And I was anxious to get out on my own. And to do that, I knew I needed a job. And so the minute that I passed my driving test, I went to every place in town I knew was hiring and applied. I only got a call back from Burger King. And I knew that that job had to be temporary because I would hear like the fryer alarms going off in my dreams. But it was enough for me to be able to afford to move out and get a room in somebody's house. But I was moving up in the world because I got a better job as an overnight janitor in the geriatric wing of a hospital. And that was a significant step up from Burger King. And they forgot to put me through orientation on my first day there. So they did it on my last day because HR. And that's where I learned all of the safety protocols that would have been like really helpful when they had me cleaning the infectious disease wing. But I'm proud to say that is the hospital I was born in. It is also out of business now. But at some point when I was 18, my brothers Eric and Brad told me to come visit them because they had just graduated boot camp. Wanted me to come hang out with them down in North Carolina for the weekend. And so I went down there, and that is where I would meet the Marine that I was going to marry 5 months after meeting him at 18. Reckless. Now, I'm not going to say that getting married young is exclusively a bad idea, but for me it was, because September of 2011 would start 5 of the hardest years of my life. I'll leave the dramatics out of it, but I'll be honest in saying that he was abusive in a few ways. And the first time that he let his true colors show was about 6 months into our marriage, and it was verbal. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'm in trouble. And I was right as things progressed from there. And abuse tends to be cyclical. It starts with an incident, and then a period of reconciliation and calm, and then tensions will start to build again before the next incident. And that is, the details of all of that are mine and unique to my story, but the larger circumstance was pretty unremarkable. It was predictable and lived out by almost every domestic violence victim. But I've often been asked that if I knew early on that I was in trouble, why didn't I leave? And that is very individualized to the person. Lots of different reasons why people stay or don't go. But for me, Fear, uncertainty, finances all played a part. But the biggest thing is I was homeschooled my whole life. And I also grew up in a religious family. And I saw my mom and my grandmother stay through their abusive marriages. And I never thought that I had the right to make a different choice for myself. But at some point, we would move back to Maryland, his home state, and he had gotten kicked out of the Marine Corps and he wanted to be a model. But wanting to be a model doesn't really pay anything. And so I had to go get a job to support us, which would be the first milestone on my path to freedom. He couldn't isolate me anymore. If I was gonna go work, I was gonna be around people, and the people I was around really liked me. And I was doing well at work, and I got promotions, and it was a big difference from what I was hearing about myself at home. And then we eventually would start to see some marriage counselors, and this was actually a couple from the church that he grew up in, and they saw the abuse firsthand, and they told me that I needed to leave. Didn't hesitate to tell me that I needed to leave, and that would be the second milestone, was being told that I had value and that I deserved to live a life of dignity, and that I was worth whatever fight it would take to get that. It would take some time and some work for me to believe that myself, but they stuck by me while I went through that. They also told me about an organization that provided therapy for domestic violence victims. And going to therapy would be the third most impactful milestone on my path to freedom. And that's because it was a safe place to seek out truth. Lies told often enough start to sound like the truth, especially when the truth has no voice. But my therapist would become my voice of truth, and she was patient and steadfast. She knew exactly what I needed the moment that I met her. I ended up seeing her every week for 7 years, and I'm certain that she saved my life. I am a wildly different person than I was 9 years ago when I left my abusive marriage. I am strong and confident. I believe that I have the right to stand up for my own dignity. Not everything is different, though. I'm still a little reckless every now and then. I've had 2 absolutely outstanding crashes on my bike because going downhill fast is really fun. And you can often find me in the garage trying to figure out how to take the speed limiter off of my Segway. I still haven't figured it out, but I keep trying. I'm just no longer reckless with the relationships that I have or the people I let into my life. Just celebrated 5 years with my partner, and it's been the 5 most positive and affirming years of my life. I would like to believe that everybody can leave a situation like mine, and I do. But I acknowledge that I was lucky to get support at the right time. People in that situation need to be reminded often that they bring value to the world, and need patience and kindness. And the reality is people change their lives when they're ready to, but we can all play a part in helping them get ready. So that's my story, and go Bills. It's